Hi folks, I'm Will Bridges from your team at 123 Trade. In this video, we're going to be discussing silver, some price targets on silver, really what the hedge funds are thinking about silver. Most people are bullish. We're expecting a very, very big move to happen at some point on silver. I'm going to show you guys why in this video. We're going to look at commitments of traders data, also called COT data, for those of you that like the acronym game. But I'm going to put on a little bit of a clinic here, show you guys more or less where the price targets are coming from, why people are talking about $32 and $51 and where all those numbers come from. We're also going to be looking for really a lot of that in Friday in our client-only session. If you want to follow along with all these videos, then press the thumbs up. Hey, and if you don't like the video, unpress it later. Subscribe, ring the bell. A lot of this is going to be time-sensitive information that you're going to want before we email it or post it somewhere else. It's nice to get a message straight from the folks at YouTube. And let's cover our bases before we get into the cool stuff. Everything in this video will be for educational purpose only. You do with the information what you like, but there is no such thing as a guaranteed trade or investment. You do have to risk it to get the biscuit. So you're going to want to pay attention to everything I show in this video. I'm going to go through a lot of different information from a few different sources. So if you skip ahead, you're going to miss something neat. Let's go ahead and jump first things first. I'm just going to go over to Google. Okay, I'm going to open up Google. I know this is a novel thought. I know everybody Googles everything all the time. But I'm going to make this real easy on us. And I'm just going to type in the word silver and the word supply and hit enter. And now, to make this easier on myself, I want to know what the news thinks. This is really what the long-term trend might be, because a lot of what the news is going to write about has already happened. Okay, so I'm going to want to look at the chart further on down the line in this presentation to figure out where I think price targets are, where might be a good place to start buying again. If we're at a high price, maybe I want to wait for a pullback. There might be people taking profit. So looking at this, global silver, demand continues for silver supply. U.S. Mint clarifies silver supply issues. They came out a week ago and said that they had a supply problem, and they were like, yeah, not really. It wasn't that big of a deal. We didn't really have a silver supply issue. We were just talking about the U.S. Mint. We weren't talking about everybody else. We were just talking about a short-term squeeze on silver for our supply. So silver squeeze, they're trying to act like it's not happening, but the reality of the situation is that people are stacking silver more now than ever before. Demand has never been this high, and if you search for silver demand, we can find out more about that also. So rising industrial demand for silver has the Mexican mining industry probably working their butts off. And, silver is up over 70% in a year. Here's why experts say it could go a lot further. So all of this is pointing towards bullish activity. So I'm not wearing an tinfoil hat and telling you that silver is going to be strong in the future, especially when we go and we look at something like this here on our commitments of traders data. And this is from the government. This is government reported data. We'll make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see this. Let's zoom in here, folks. Get a couple pluses on here. And let's look at silver here. And what we're looking at, okay, this is the commodity exchange, reporting the positions of the producers in the market, the retail traders, swap dealers, and the managed money. The managed money is who I want to follow because those are allegedly people that manage other people's money for a living. So they're probably good. The Warren Buffetts of this world make a pretty good living. So I want to be on their team. And what I'm looking at here with them as far as long goes, okay, 71,426 long positions, short 28,897. That sounds like about 71% of hedge fund positions are looking up. So I'm interested. And this really just kind of confirms what I already thought by reading the news, is that silver's probably bullish. It seems like the hedge funds are on the same page with me. I'm trying to build a narrative for myself so that if I want to trade something like silver, I know what direction I should be looking most of the time. Okay, so now that I pick a trend direction, I want to feel even safer about this. Here's another update, and I'll make this full screen so we can get as much real estate on this as possible. And what we're looking at on this page, this is the U.S. debt clock. I don't know if this is exact to the penny. So you can't take anything in this world statistics wise and take it as gospel anymore. But that $28 trillion US national debt is, well, probably fairly accurate. It seems to be what gets reported in most places. And if you look at this over here, I think somewhere close to me over here, there's this, price of dollar to silver ratio now. Okay, so I'll hover over that, and at the top where it says usdebtclock.org, you're going to see what that says. It says the year-over-year increase in the US M2 money supply divided by the yearly world production of silver. Okay, so we created 30% of somewhere around 30%, I'm not sure what it is anymore, of all of the money in existence within the last year. And, silver, like we showed before, one of those news articles was talking about silver being up 70% in that period of time. I don't think that it's done yet. Here, we're talking about a valuation of silver at $3,857. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay? The biggest issue out right now is that the government's going to have to shore up their assets and liabilities at some point. They have $11 billion of gold on their books. If you guys are surprised by $11 billion being all of the gold that the U.S. government has, then give us a comment, because I was surprised by that number when I found out too. And the reason why it's only 11 billion might surprise you, but it's because the government values 1 ounce of gold at $42. So you divide that 11 billion by 42, you get the ounces of gold that the government has on their books here in the U.S. If they decide to change that value from $42, which, well, let's face it, it hasn't been that price since the 70s, that's a lie, then, revaluing the book value is probably going to have a large effect on the value of gold, the value of silver when it comes to the spot market. I can't imagine that raising the book value of the government's gold is not going to have a big effect on everything else in the system, because usually, well, that sounds like a switcheroo, and the markets don't usually like to let people get away with things like that, especially when the markets are global. So what I want to do next here, I want to go over and check out the charts. And what we're looking at here, I've got a side-by-side here. I've got gold on the left. I've got silver on the right. And the interesting part about this is the highs that have already occurred. So if I go ahead and make a couple of circles here, okay, wrong chart at the wrong time. Let me lock that tool up. Oh, maybe not. I can do either one. But I've got really our high on gold that happened within the last year. Okay, that's higher than our other previous high from the last crash. This is back in 2011. That was the peak of gold. Not quite to the 2000 level that we made recently, but we made a higher high. That has not happened on silver yet. Here's the high from that same period of time, from the last big crash. Here's the most recent high. So we haven't really broken out yet. We had lots of resistance on the way up, maybe more than we had on gold, maybe not. But a lot of it has to do with, I'll come back to this U.S. national debt thing here, the paper to silver ratios of silver is 188 to 1. Okay, so that might be a big reason why this valuation of 3,857, if you divide that number by 188, you're going to get around $20. Okay, so a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot more paper silver than there is paper gold. Okay, so that's important to know. You don't necessarily have to know that to be able to make a trade on something like this. Really, we just want to figure out if we should be bullish or if we should be bearish in the long term, because I want to know what long-term trend direction is. I think that we can still make these new all-time highs. That might be a product of a Fibonacci level. I'll pull one from this big AB boundary we had for years. Try to get this as tight on the bottom as we can. Oop. Get rid of that last one we don't need. Perfect. And this is what a lot of people have been looking at. We came down to this green level below. We could get all the way to $57. Okay, so a lot of people have talked about closer targets than that, 51. If we come to a lower time frame here on silver, okay, let's maybe check out our weekly. And I'll make this silver screen here the whole screen, full screen. Get rid of our gauge over here. Make this as clear as we can. This is now our weekly chart. So we're looking at about 10, 12 years worth of data now. And, if you guys can see this, there's only two types of trend that I know about, and silver has really done, well, 2 out of 3, directions. Okay, there's really two types of trend. It's either up and down or sideways. Okay, that was our trend for years as we tapered off of the crash in 08, 09. And then we had a sideways trend, this range that existed for years. And I'll draw that here too. Okay, that was our big range. There's lots of critical prices. And we came back and we tested that range after we started this uptick that we've got more recently. This is our more recent trend line here. We've actually got a true low here, so this is really our new trend. Okay, but we did come back and try to test our old range at these slightly lower prices already a couple of times. Okay, so I'll go ahead and circle both of those. We'll zoom in, get a little bit closer. Okay, so those are our tests on our range that we spent years in. We broke out of it. We tried to come test it. The market made another big move, something like $8, $9, $10. Okay, so a big bullish opportunity could be coming. Right now we're at somewhat of a high price. That'll be more obvious on our day chart. And we're going to be breaking this down on Friday in our client-only session. So if you want to get a good look at this, where we think the nearer term targets are, all that type of fun stuff, where the best places to maybe, manage your risk, try to get a solid reward, maybe look for an exit. We're going to be doing that a lot on Friday. Right now there is a little bit of concern on maybe the short term for bullish activity because we are getting a little bit of a counter trend break. So we could be, making a little bit of a reprieve. We've got lots of lower lows, lots of higher highs to test. So nothing goes straight up, folks. But I know that at this point, I think I've given you enough reason to believe the hedge funds are long. The debt is going through the ceiling like it has forever. Let's just imagine if you buried an ounce of silver in the ground, 50 years ago, and you buried $1 next to it, which one is worth more today? So, important part about metals to understand, there's no guarantees in trading and investing, but you do want to follow the fundamentals. You do want to follow the trend because that is the trend is the trend until it's not. But thanks for joining us, folks. If you want to see more videos like this, then press the thumbs up button, subscribe, ring the bell. We're going to get more time-sensitive information out like this on a regular basis. We have lots of videos on our website, 123trade.com. There's lots of information in the show more section below if you want to know more about the tools shown in this video or the links or anything like that. Send us a message, brokers@123trade.com. Again, Will Bridges at 123trade. You guys be good or be good at it. Take care.